Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. This seems to be my day for doing videos. It's Sunday, I've been bored, I've had lots of time on my hands, so I'm just going to keep rolling these videos out today. Listen, I promised Morton at my Playhouse that I would show him how to install Unifi and do a basic configuration. Now, I can't do a basic configuration, but what I can do is I can do an install of Unifi and show you how to do a backup and a restore, because that's how I do it. I really don't want to have to reset up my Unifi from scratch. So I'll show you how the Unifi install is done, and we'll get to a certain point, and then I'll stop and show you how to do I'll pretend we do a new installation as opposed to a backup and restored version. I hope that makes sense. So let's get started on that right now. Let's switch over to and see how my Unifi is already set up. And you know, I have made some comments or some statements about Unifi being kind of hard to initially set up, and that was back from 3 or 4 years ago when I initially started working with Unifi. Fortunately, now they have made things much simpler. So I'm going to show you the steps that I take to do an install of Unifi, and I'm going to actually screw up my Unifi installation. I'm not going to screw it up. Here's the deal with Unifi. Once you install it and you provision your units, you can, in theory, uninstall Unifi and your equipment would keep running as normally. It's only when you make changes to this interface here that you're looking at right now that it goes out and it updates the devices. So I can do this without screwing up my initial configuration of Unifi, but I'm going to show you what you need to do, for example, if you're getting ready to upgrade your Unifi, or if you want to move your Unifi to another unit. For example, I had Unifi running on my old workstation that is now behind me on this desk, and what I want to do is move it onto a virtual machine. So that I have one machine that's running things like Landsweeper and Spiceworks, and I put all my utility software that needs to sit there and run, for example, like Unifi, on a virtual machine. I just find it easier to maintain everything that way, keep it in one location. So what I want to do is come over here to the settings icon and click on that and go, I believe it's under maintenance, and yes, so here we go. Here's the backup. Now, you can do a backup of settings only, but I've got a lot of data that I've already retained, so I'm going to do a no-limit backup. In other words, it's going to back up all the DPI data, all that good stuff, all my settings, all my log files, everything. So now, I believe that I'm saying that properly. I could be dead wrong, but I believe that if you do a no limit, it backs up everything. So then click on download backup, and it's gonna take a little while if you've got a lot of data out there. So, and here's how I label them. You can see how I labeled this one. No, you can't see it. I do apologize. Let me bring up that window. Left monitor, there we go. So I save mine in my applications folder under Unifi, and by default it gives it a name of 5.6.24. I don't want that. I want to call it Unifi, and I'm going to give it today's date, so 01, and today's date is the 14th, 1418. Name it any darn thing you want. You can see my last backup was 3.8 megabytes, so let's see how big this one is. So I'm going to go ahead and click on save, and it's going to download that. Now. So now what I want to do, let's go look at that folder real quick, and if you see it over here, there's the backup I did today, and it's actually 6 megabytes in size, so it's not that large of a backup. Now that I have it safely backed up, I can blow away. I'm going to go ahead and log out, and then we're going to pretend like we started from scratch, and we'll do an install. And so let's switch over to that screen now. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is switch over to my production Dell server that is running Hyper-V and Windows Server 2016. Yeah, if I can get the screens right. So here you go. So I've created a machine called MCS maintenance, or MCS-mate, just so I know what that is. And I always, you notice on my virtual machines, I always put notes in here to myself. Always start after reboot. Now what this is, and you're probably gonna yell at me about this, but this is a Windows 7 virtual machine. So let's come back to the main webcam here, and I'm explaining to you why I use a Windows 7 virtual machine as opposed to a Windows 10 virtual machine. There are certain things about Windows 10 I love. The fact that the networking stack has been improved, memory management, all those wonderful things that Microsoft has given us in Windows 10. What I don't like in Windows 10 are forced updates. And I especially don't like forced updates on a machine that is running mission critical software. And when I say mission critical software, I mean things like my monitoring utilities, my maintenance programs, that kind of thing. Kind of things that need stability and need to run all the time. I like being in control of my own destiny. I can't be in control of my own destiny with Windows 10 because I can't depend on these machines not to reboot and not to do software updates at an inopportune time. Now there are ways around that with Windows 10. You can just basically go in and do a registry hack. You can do a Google search on that. That'll tell you how to turn off updates for that machine. Basically, you just deny it a gateway, or you deny the update service to go out and do the updates. Like I said, there are ways to do it. And enterprise people do this too. I just find it easier, just stick with Windows 7. Windows 7 is fast, easy to set up, spool up a virtual machine, and all of the maintenance and monitoring software that I run will run on Windows 7. I'm not real worried about security updates. These machines don't go out to the internet or anything like that. So who gives a damn, right? So the way I'm going to show you how I did it is on a Windows 7 virtual machine. If you want to use a Windows 10 virtual machine, you go right ahead. It's strictly up to you. So that being said, I've now switched over to this Windows 7 virtual machine, which is my MCS maintenance machine. And it's just a little machine I've given, I think, 2 gig of RAM on, and let's see. Yeah, I've given it 2 gig of RAM, so it's not real, it doesn't really take up a lot of resources. So it is joined to the domain. It is a member of my MCS domain. And I have my applications here. So the latest Unifi software at this point that is stable is 5.6.24, I believe, and I've got that under the Unifi. Yeah, 5.6.24. So you just download this installer, and then you just simply double click, and we're going to do an install on it. Now, Unifi installer, and the reason this has been a pain in the butt in the past is because it requires Java. Well, Ubiquiti listened, and you know how complicated Java can be to run on Windows. Windows doesn't like Java, Google Chrome doesn't like Java, you name it. So Ubiquiti finally has packaged all this stuff together and made it extremely easy to do an install, including the Java, as you will see. So I'm just going to click on install here. And it even tells you this application requires Java. Click OK to download from java.com. So then what's going to happen, it's going to go out and open a browser, and you just do your free Java download. And Google Chrome even notifies you, hey, Google it ain't going to work with Google Chrome, and that happened in April of 2015. So you just agree and start your download. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show that in the folder. And I'm going to go ahead and close Chrome. And then I've already downloaded, as you can see here, I downloaded it on the 9th, and that's the one I'm going to use. So I just double click on that Java. And what this is a standalone version of Java that'll work with Windows 7, i.e. or Windows 7/Windows 10. And you just follow the basic prompts and it will install. Now, if you have Internet Explorer 11 as your default browser, like on Windows 7 install, it will install the Java for Internet Explorer as well. So we've successfully installed Java now, so I'm going to go ahead and close that screen, and I'm going to close my downloads folder. And now I can go ahead and do the Unifi installer. So we'll double click on that, and now it should come up, and we're going to tell it yes. We're going to go ahead and install this time, and now it should install all the components it needs. Now, something you have to be mindful, and I'm gonna pause right here and talk about that. Unifi is not going to come up automatically every time. If you need to reboot this virtual machine, you're going to need to be mindful that you're going to need to come back in and log in as the user that set up the Unifi in the first place, so that it will, if you need to reboot the machine, so that Unifi will run. Now keep in mind, once you've provisioned your Unifi devices, you don't need to leave this up and running. You only need to leave this up and running to collect data on the DPI and to have the interface available. So if you, like I said, if you reboot this virtual machine, you have to come back in, log in, and run Unifi manually. There is a way to run it automatically. I don't bother to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Finish, and then it should bring up the Unifi installer. Now keep in mind, I have had Unifi already working on my network, so my setup's going to be a little bit different than yours, and I'll point that out to you here in a minute. So if you have devices, the best thing to do is take any Unifi devices you have, just plug them into your network and power them on, and then come in and load your Unifi software and run. There's a wizard that'll come up and run you through it, and to get your base setup of your Unifi devices. And then you can come back in later and edit their IP addresses and do all that kind of fancy stuff that you need to do. So once you get the controller running, you need to, remember, don't close it, because if you close it, it'll tell you, hey, no, you sure you want to close it? No, you want to hide it or you want to minimize it after you get it all up and running. Now for our tutorial, we're going to go ahead and launch a browser to manage the network. And of course, you're going to get a certificate error. And go ahead and proceed. Now this is where the wizard comes up. Now you have a couple of options here. If you, like I said, were starting up a new Unifi and all new equipment, you would follow through this wizard. You do the next. It would scan for devices. It would tell you, notice it's telling me no devices found because my Unifi devices have already been adopted by a previous controller. So it's something you need to be aware of. Yours, however, if this is the first time you've set up any Unifi devices, you will see your device names here, and then you can go through and adopt them. But because I did a backup, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to tell it to restore from a previous backup. And this is where I'm going to go out to my applications folder where I backed up my Unifi, to that Unifi folder. And there is my backup as of the 14th. So I'm going to open that and let it restore, and it tells me, do I want to restore the settings for version 5.6.24, and I'm going to confirm, and then I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to let the restore happen. And this will take a few minutes so I can babble on some more. So trust me, this is oh my God, this is so much easier than it was prior to, I don't even know when they improved this software, because it had been, I remember my first Unifi setup, I was so excited to get the, the little UFOs like the one behind me up and running at a client site, and it was such a convoluted piece of bullshit to get the thing up and running and get Java working, and they have really improved it. And so don't be intimidated about it. I've made a comment before in the past that said, oh, it's difficult to set up Unifi, and it's haunted me ever since I made that comment, because it's just not true anymore. They've really simplified it once you've done it a few times. So let's come back to our device, and as you can see now, it's got Unifi up and running. It's done the restore. Now I'm not going to log in on this virtual machine. I'm just going to close that web browser, and I'm going to leave Unifi running. I'm going to hide it, and it'll put the UFO down here in the corner. And then I'm just going to close the virtual machine and switch back over to Chrome. And let me get where y'all are. And then I've got a bookmark in here for Unifi. So same thing, my connection's not private. But you notice it goes up and it uses my, I've created a link to my virtual machine on port 8443. And that's what you'll need to do. You'll either need to put your IP address of your virtual machine, :8443, or the fully qualified DNS name for your Active Directory domain in there. I'm going to click on Advanced and I'm going to go ahead and proceed. And then I'm going to go ahead and attempt to log on. And I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Now, if I've done everything right, no, not now. If I've done everything right, I should see that everything is back to where it was. I should have my statistical data. So we'll just go look. There's static. Yeah, there's the statistical data. So it worked like a charm, and I didn't lose any of my settings. And again, keep in mind, you only need to leave this up if you're going to be monitoring your traffic. But otherwise, you can log out of the Unifi controller and you'll be just fine. I'm just going to go check and make sure none of my... Oh, look, there's an upgrade for all my devices. So I bet you I'll be doing that again today as well. Looks like they've had an update. I'll have to go out and see what that upgrade is, because it wants me to upgrade all 3 devices, with the exception of my security gateway. So, interesting. So there you go. I made it as simple as I possibly can and showed you how to install the Unifi software from Ubiquiti onto a Windows 7 virtual machine. You can do it onto a Windows 10 virtual machine. In theory, you could even put it, if you don't have the kind of resources I have, you could just install it on your local workstation. It's not really that resource intensive. And, you know, if you have a small installation like I do. I know I've been tooting Ubiquiti and Unifi's horn for quite a while these past few months, but there's a reason for that. When you make software and equipment that work well together, and you make it attainable to small businesses, and when I say small businesses, I mean typically a business of 100 users or less, or a business like me where I've only got myself and a couple of other temporary employees. When you make that software and hardware accessible that was only in the realm of Cisco and Juniper and those kind of folks, you've got a magic combination there, and I'm going to sing your praises from the rooftop. I have not been compensated by Unifi or Ubiquiti Networks at all, and I don't look to be. I recommend their products because I eat them. I eat my own dog food, as they say. I use them here in my business, and I use them in my customers' business. And hopefully you folks know me well enough now to know that I would not recommend a piece of software or hardware that I did not wholeheartedly support. So keep that in mind. Like I said, I love Ubiquiti products. They work for me. Willie Howell uses them a lot. Crosstalk Solutions, another YouTube channel, he uses them, and because they work. In fact, if you go out and check out Crosstalk Solutions, he just did a install at the San Francisco Convention Center where he put all Ubiquiti products in there, and it was a pretty interesting video. It's only about a 25-minute video, but check it out. It was pretty cool to see how he got that, how he did a site survey and got that all to work. So go yay Ubiquiti. So there you go. I hope you found the video entertaining and informative. As always, please give us a thumbs up down below if you liked the video. Please, I love your comments. I love answering questions. Leave your comments in the comments section. Some of you have been using my Facebook page to ask questions. That's okay. But a lot of times I prefer you use the comment section on YouTube. That way we can share that information with other users, because a lot of people don't go to my Facebook page, my Uncle Joe's Playhouse Facebook page. But I have one if you're so interested. We take donations. We take PayPal and Patreon. PayPal is my preferred method of support if you're so inclined. YouTube revenues are abysmal. Every video I post now, I have to have reviewed. So it'll get 400 or 500 views, unmonetized, and then YouTube finally goes, oh, okay, yeah, we can monetize this video. It's been happening to every one of the videos I post lately. So if you want to actually help the channel, go and send us some money on Patreon or PayPal. If you're so inclined, don't feel compelled to. But if you find this information useful, what the cash allows me to do is buy RAM upgrades for my server, buy new network cards to do new videos, to bring you new content. So it's not like I make a lot of money off this, but I would at least like the YouTube channel to pay its way without having to invest a lot of my own money into it. But I don't mind doing it, but it just means if you contribute, we're able to make better videos, quicker videos, and more of them. So I hope that came out right. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Our goal is 2,000 subscribers before my birthday, which is January 22nd. So hopefully we'll be there by then. I think we got 30 to go or something like that. So again, thanks for watching. And don't forget, we'll see you on the other side.